Hello everybody. Today we will discuss static variables in Java. So what are static variables? Or in that manner, what is static? So static is a keyword in Java. And what's the use of this keyword? This keyword, static keyword, is used for memory management. So how it is used for memory management? This is the question. I will explain to you how it is used for memory management by giving you the proper advantage of static variable. A static variable can retain the value of a variable upon function calls. What do I mean by this statement? That a static variable can retain the value of a variable upon function calls. Let me explain you with an example. Suppose you are having a class test. Let's say class test, and you are having, obviously you are having a main function inside this class. So we will say public static void main string args. Now inside this main function, what you will do, you will define a reference variable of this test class. So we will say test t is equals to new test. By this we are defining a reference variable t of this test class, and it will be, with this reference variable we will be able to access the data members and member functions or methods of test class. So there, let's suppose there is a variable int count is equals to 0 inside this test class, and obviously we are having a constructor inside this class. So we will say test, and inside this what we will do, we will say count plus plus. So by looking at this program, let me write one more line here, system.out.println count. Now while looking at this program, what can you say? Means what will be the output of this program? So let's start from the beginning. How the compiler will think. Compiler will, at the very first line, will find that class test. So it will enter inside this class test, and then it will encounter int count is equals to 0. So it will occupy a memory location of 4 bytes inside the memory, and it will allocate that memory to count variable, and then it will encounter this test. But first of all it will go inside the main function. Whenever the compiler sees a program or executes a program, it directly goes inside the main function, and here in main function we have written test t is equals to new test. In this way we are defining the reference variable of the class, and the reference variable is t. So now whenever a reference variable is created or the class is instantiated, then the control goes inside the class as well as the constructor. So here we have said int count is equals to 0. Now here the control goes inside the constructor test by this line. By instantiating the test class, the control goes inside the constructor test, and here we encounter count plus plus. So the value of count will be 1 here, and then system.out.println will print this count. Now first of all, let's try to run this program. So we will save this program. We'll save this as test.java. We will save it inside desktop. So inside our desktop folder, we'll copy from here and we will open computer, then C, then program files, then Java, then our JDK folder, and then finally our bin folder, and here we will paste this test.java file. Now here we have got this file, and in order to successfully compile and run this program, we open command line argument and we will paste this address of bin folder inside this command line argument, and we will open the directory. Now the bin directory has been opened in command line argument, and now we will compile our program by saying javac test.java. We will enter. Our program is successfully compiled, and now in order to see the output, we will say java test, and we can see that our program gives output as 1. Now inside this test class, we also have thought of output as 1, but what will happen if I at second time instantiate this class by saying test t2 is equals to new test? By again instantiating this class, again the control will go inside this constructor, and now second time count plus plus will happen. But actually what happens here is the value of count was 1, and now it must have been 2. But when we see the output, we'll save this file and then we will see the output. Sorry, I need to again write this. Test t2 is equals to new test. I am again instantiating this class by again defining another reference variable t2 of test class, and now I will save this, and now in command line argument I am again compiling this program and again running this program. Now the output of both instantiation is 1. Here when you instantiate test t2 is equals to new test, the control goes inside this constructor, and here the value of count is incremented to 1, and now we'll print this value. But at the second time also the same thing happens. The value of count is incremented, and it must have been 2, but it is still 1, as you can see from the output. So what has happened? This statement int count is equals to 0 has again made the value 0, and this count plus plus has again incremented it to 1. So again the output will be 1. So at both any instantiation the output is 1. But we do not want this. We want that the constructor test should retain the value of count, should retain the earlier value of count. For an example, if test has incremented the value of count to 1 from 0, it must retain its value to 1, so that second time we will instantiate our class by calling this constructor, then the value must have been 2. So what we can do to do this? To do this, we can make this variable count as a static, so that the function or the constructor test will retain the value of count upon function calls. So this is the use of a static variable. We will see the output. We'll save this file, we'll again compile it, then run it. Now we can see that the first time the output is 1 and the second time it's 2. So this is the use of a static keyword. It retains, I will again write this statement, the static variable retains its value upon function calls. Here constructor is also a function, so the value of count was 0. First of all, it was initialized to 0 and then it was incremented at this statement. When you instantiate the class test t is equals to new test, then it enters the constructor and it says count plus plus. So here it increments the value of variable count to 1 and then it prints the value by saying system.out.println count. Here we can see that it has printed the value as 1. Now again, when you instantiate the class second time by saying test t2 is equals to new test, again the control lands inside this constructor and again count plus plus is encountered. Now because the variable is static, it retains its value count is equals to 1 and it makes this value as 2, because here count plus plus is the instruction. So count now becomes 2 and system.out.println prints the value as 2. So this is the use of a static variable, that it retains the value of the variable, the static variable, upon function calls. Thank you.